I'm here at the Connect Americas Summit in Panama City with Jose Quintero, who's Chief Technology Officer for Cable and Wireless Panama. Jose, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
I'd like to start off by asking you, why is the Connect Americas Summit important for the region?
First of all, we and me personally as a Panamanian, I'm very proud of having this event taking place in Panama, which is the crossroads of the road. Panama is in the middle of America. And besides the aspiration to have a connected society, connecting has been the part of the history of Panama. As you know, originally we have the Crosses Road in the colony times, then we have the Trans-Pacific Railroad, then we have the canal, which has always been transiting. And actually we connect 5 international cables which are landing in Panama. So for us it's very important because transit and making some analogy with the canal do not necessarily foster development for the society, because transiting is just passing through, not interacting with. So for us as a company and for us as part of the society and being a partner of the government on developing, transiting have to come with connectivity. Connectivity to the homes, the enterprise, promoting and enabling trading, interaction, communications. And Panama originally has a very relevant point in providing logistic services to the world trade. Then for the banking industry and for being a logistics point now, but going beyond that, it's important to connect the society and the people. So for us, I think everything had to do with connectivity now. The key point would be how to achieve it. Telecommunications went through an opening and had been a very regulated market. At some point, the government has allowed the market themselves to regulate themselves. But I think we're coming to a point where, again, we have to realign the industry in terms of having the government with national development plans, the regulators, the industry, and the operators as a whole with a common goal, which is providing this broadband connectivity, both in mobile and fixed. And many people believe that mobile will replace fixed, but I think that one complements the other. Because basically, the more you do mobile communications and more bandwidth you will need to have more capacity. So for me, eventually, and as is happening, in order to have good mobile communication, you have to have good capillarity of broadband communications in the fixed. And this is what we're seeing in fixed broadband with XDSL, fiber, even Wi-Fi. And mobile, actually, you have many different devices connecting in many different ways to have connecting to the same content. And people is learning more how to find ways to connect. And that is what we have to look at, providing more capillarity to it. Because, telecommunications networks are like roads. If you don't have it, you don't have exchange. And this is like the blood vessels in the body. You can have all the cord you want, but you need to have this capillarity to foster this communication. And I think in Latin America, it takes some interesting perspective, because as a different to Europe and the US, we have many countries with different governments and different regulators, but with a common language and a common interest. So we have to find a way to foster that communications and networks that can interact and interconnect. So I think that is what is relevant, because connecting Americas is something that I think we are all come to the conclusion that we have to do. Then is now to find the best way to do it.
So is that the major challenge for the region then?
Oh, it is. Definitely it is. Both at a local and regional perspective, because the topography of Latin America is very interesting. That we have, like, for instance, in Panama is like an S. So you have a lot of watershed reservations. So you have pockets of people and not very dense areas. So from the network standpoint, backbone is very important. Then access is very important, and then crossing the frontiers between countries. In the case of Panama specifically, you know that the Darien jungle is one of the most dense jungles in the world, and it's our border with Colombia. So, and that is, for many years, we don't even have a road to connect Panama with South America. Right. However, we want to interconnect both electrically and by telecommunications because we have submarine cables. So communications has go beyond the natural connecting lines. So it is a challenge, but I think the most important point is that there's a common sense of direction now that said that it cannot be done in isolated silos as the industry would do it by itself, or the governments cannot get involved, or the regulator have to regulate service invoice, because now it's not about regulating, it's about promoting. And the best thing now, or the greatest challenge is the expectation of people. People now have more access to information than any other time in history. People know about applications before the operators know. Kids can handle devices more efficiently. Small, medium enterprises now have the same level of communication need as a big corporation, and they don't see them differently, because now you can conduct a global business from small locations as long as you have the right communications. For instance, a couple of years ago in Panama, we have call centers installed, but the first thing was not, okay, Panama is in the middle of America. It's, okay, we want broadband communications to connect our call centers from Panama to the US with low latency and good capacity. So it was about round-trip delay and broadband. It was not about necessarily where the people is. So and then from call center to business process to hosting sites to logistics center is just different levels that we want to achieve as a regional site. And there is one fact, for instance, Panama is in the middle of America, so we are halfway of round-trip delay from any other country. So as the traffic pass through here, same as the canal. Originally we have the canals, and then we have the ports. It's like packets. You have the transit routes, and then you have the exchange route. So for me, there is a strong analogy between the trading, transshipment industry and the telecommunications industry, and how we are evolving into it.
And what's your vision for the future of the communications in the region?
Well, I believe that we have a long way to go in terms of building more submarine cable capacity, because satellites have become a useful tool for rural areas and isolated areas, are no longer an international communications means. And actually, we in Panama, we turn our air stations into VSAT hubs for the rural areas, many in places where we don't have roads or electricity, so they are they're powered by solar panels and so. So broadband capacity is one thing. Then points of presence is of other point. So we have to have more exchanging points, and then the service and the hosting side. So, and there will be, or there should be more agreements instead of where to put the content, and then we will touch into a very tricky part, which is the extraterritoriality of the content, where you can have it, and then the legal boundaries, then the regulatory boundaries, and eventually there should not be those clear boundaries anymore. So basically, that is in terms of transport. In terms of access, we have to find a way to democratize more the backbones in the countries. Resilient backbones, and then provide more capillarity into the rural areas, suburban and rural, because then there is where the gap is. Because people, by being in a rural area, they do not expect less bandwidth than one a day. But then it comes the cost of the price, or the price value. That's why many times I talk about network neutrality together with fair usage, but also fair share. Because we need to find a way to monetize the whole chain, from the access into the aggregation, into the backbones, into the internet, and into the communications. And then again, I said that it's not that mobile, even though our mobile penetration is way beyond 100% and fixed is not, but basically the backhaul for mobile is the fix. So if you want to create more capacity, you need to have smaller cells, and then you eventually have that the more fixed network grows, the more mobile bandwidth you have. And eventually, for me, at the end, they complement each other. It's not that one replaces the other. So that is the huge challenge, how we make that go beyond into our countries and provide but again, there's another thing. That bandwidth needs to be used with responsibility and ethically. It's not just I want to download all the videos I can for YouTube because I want to. I have to have a means of purpose, a sense of purpose. So there are some ethical, responsible elements attached to that, because in the old times of voice was easy. Voice call, 2 minutes, that's it. Now bandwidth, normally you have that 5% of the users use 50% of the bandwidth. So now we have to find a way to provide the necessary bandwidth in a fair share to everybody and have both mobile and fixed.
Finally, very briefly, we've got a very good selection of people who have gathered here, lots of high-level guests,
yes.
Presidents and government ministers and people from education, from civil society, etc. What do you hope will come from this summit?
Well, I believe that the attendance show its purpose itself. You have people presenting projects, people looking to fund projects, and the interaction would be to find the right model to create that development, not only with telemedicine projects or public video surveillance projects or government projects, but also social projects. And if you see now, this is not about telecom people talking about telecom, it's not network for networks. Then you have ministers, you have presidents saying we need to do this in order to promote development. So, and then you have the industry, because we need the vendors, the terminals, the private sector, the public sector, and regulators. So I think that the most that can be getting from this event is having all these agents aligned into a common purpose, and then realizing that it cannot be done in a silo by one or the other. It has to be done in an articulated manner.
Jose Quintero, thank you very much for being with us today.
Okay, thank you very much.